Welcome, bienvenidos amigos. Otra vez de Sifuentes aquí. El día de hoy es muy especial porque vamos a hablar y vamos a entrevistar a una persona muy interesante, una persona que es bien buena de negocios, y es lo que vamos a hacer hoy para que podamos obtener experiencia, conocimiento de él. Ahora les presento, va a ser Brent Allgood. Okay, Brent, bienvenido.
Bienvenido.
Welcome. So as you know, we're trying to, this segment of the radio, we're trying to get information, we're going to ask a few questions about what makes you tick and things that we can get from us, the little guys, and get knowledge from experts like yourself to see how we can become more successful, happier, better, and all that good stuff, if that's good. Okay, yes. So Brent, awesome. I'm very glad that you're here. Okay, the first question that I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, Brent.
About myself personally?
Yes,
or
and business.
Company?
Both of them.
Both of them, okay. I have lots of one-liners. So one of them is, I was an only child for 7 minutes. Therefore, I grew up with my sister, who she and I would just tease each other relentlessly growing up. So I was never alone. I don't really understand the whole only child being alone, because I have other siblings as well, but we're 7 minutes apart. So that's one of my lines.
That's cool.
What else?
Are you from Utah?
I was actually born here in Utah, and then left at a very young age. And I've lived all over the country, and even overseas. I've lived in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Florida, Maryland, Bahamas, Haiti, London, and Sydney. Not necessarily in that order.
Wow.
And 10 years at sea. So I've only been to 55 countries.
Wait, do you say 55 countries?
55 countries. And you will be happy to know that the very first country that I went to, other than the U.S., was Mexico.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, we lived in Arizona. We lived in Tucson, and so Arizona's beach, Rocky Point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we would go down to Rocky Point and sleep right on the beach. It's all condos now, but in the 70s we could go sleep right on the beach.
I am still a puzzle by you saying 55 countries. I cannot even name 10. Well, I can, but I'm just saying, unreal. Anyhow, that is excellent. Now, moving a little bit more about career, please tell us about yourself.
I've been a computer geek for a long time. My dad was research and development with IBM. So back in those days, computers that we have today were the size of warehouses. He built those.
Wow. The framework and everything?
Oh, all of it. He was an electrical engineer. And so he was a geek, he loved the computer toys, and that's what he did for a living. And he would bring his toys home. And so I've had a computer since 1979.
Wow.
The thing was a monster. It was a good-sized box. And comparatively in power, your watch has 10 times more power than that computer ever did.
Yeah, you're right.
So I started to learn to do things like coding from a very young age. I would actually have code on the screen in BASIC, and I mean old BASIC, line-by-line BASIC.
Okay, yes.
And then we'd have a computer magazine called Byte back in the day, BYTE.
Okay.
It was the computer term Byte. And I would look at code in there, and I would copy it. And then I would start doing stuff with this. Okay, if I did this, and if I did this, and what if I did this? And I just started playing with it. And my dad was just, you go for it. You teach yourself. You want to learn to do that? That's great. Here you go. Here's the tools. Get to work.
Wow.
And he was, and my family have always been. My parents have always been very supportive. I mean, Dad's got his his master's in electrical engineering.
Okay.
Go to school. Yes. Learn. Yes. Learn new stuff. Yes. So they were always very supportive of that kind of stuff. And that's how I started. I just played with the computer, started poking around.
To interrupt you there for a second, so you think we as parents play a huge part in our kids' education, learning?
Definitely. Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. I have 4 little kids at home, and a big one. I have 4 little kids at home, and they, especially at the age that they are right now. So Zachary is 7, Natalie is 6, Nathan is 4, and Benjamin is 2. So right now they are especially impressionable at this their stage of life, and they want that interaction with mom and dad. And they know dad's busy with work and running his own company and all that, but they still want to play. So skived off a little yesterday to play games because they want that attention. So if you can channel that attention into things like learning stuff that is fun, that they don't really realize that they're learning, but it's fun for them, they love it. So one of the things I have for Zach is a program on the computer called Code Monkey.
Okay.
And it is very, very basic level. It gets a little over his head pretty quick, but very basic level of cartoons and making them do very specific things on the computer, but they are writing line by line computer code to make the monkey go pick up his bananas, and make the monkey go over the bridge and pick up a banana, and go around a bush and get a banana, and go over a bridge. But they have to write the lines, okay, take 2 steps forward, turn right, take 3 steps forward, turn left. They have to write that, and it's the logic of code. And they are learning that right now at 1st and 2nd grade, and they love it.
That is awesome. For you guys to remember, if you guys remember, I mentioned to you that on another time, what I did with my kids to engage them in programming and computer, because that's my background also, like Brent, is what I did. If you guys go to www.sifuentes.com or yosinlimites.com, what I did with my kids, I said, you know what, I give you $50 for you guys to create the webpage. I don't know, and I'm the client, I don't know anything. I just give you, I'm the client, you can come and tell me, do you want this picture this, or this video this, or this? I said, I'm the client, I'm not gonna ask you I'm not gonna help you in any way. You go to YouTube, you go to research, you figure out. And if you guys go, those web pages are pretty good. And that's what it was 10 and 11-year-old kids. So they did it. And I thought that was, to me as a parent, was able to give them an opportunity for them to, an opportunity for them to excel. Anyhow, so check it out. So I think it's along with what Brent is saying.
I did the same thing. Years ago, instead of hunting for a job the traditional way, this was the late 90s, this was 1999 actually, so end of the 90s, end of the millennium, I was looking for a job again. I'd had a job as a network engineer, and it was for a special project. It was actually Y2K.
Oh, yes.
So we did a couple of projects for the banks. We did Zions Bank and First Security Bank, when First Security was still First Security. We did those 2 banks Y2K projects, and then we had 20 engineers. The project was done, and suddenly no more work. So I knew I was going to be out of a job, and it was fine. And so I was looking for a job again, and that's when I wanted to go back to sea. I'd been in Utah for several months, and I want to travel again. I want to go more places. And so I was looking for a slightly different job on ships. And I created a website for my resume. And this is obviously before LinkedIn and any of the rest of those. And got a job with Holland America. And several months into the job, I found out why they hired me. Because they were upgrading their computer system on board for selling the shore excursions tickets, which is what I was. I was a shore excursion manager. They were putting in, and they knew it, they were putting in a new computer system, and they had 0 documentation. They needed somebody that could come on board, do the job, that was familiar with life at sea, which I'd already been working on ships before, that was technical, that could come in and grab a brand new system with no documentation, make it run, and write the book, and then teach the rest of the fleet how to do it. They told me right to my face that's why they'd hired me, because of a website that I had put together to look for a job. Today we have LinkedIn, but back then I just built my own stuff.
That's excellent. So that goes back to you guys. We as parents, uncles, grandparents, give our kids opportunities so they can grow and be successful like Brent. So that we can give, it might not be a website, it might be carpentry, it might be plumbing, it might be a skill. I believe that those things people should know, especially our kids. I remember there was a great man that once said, you should have a good education, but also a trade or a skill. So both of them. That way, if you lose your job, you at least can feed the family because you're a carpentry or you're a plumber or something. I believe those two things. I still need to put that suggestion into my life with my kids because I don't think they do much hard working or labor type of thing.
And that's my dad. That's what I tell people. What was the biggest influence? Who's the biggest influence in your life? And I have to say my dad was. He taught me how to work at a very young age. So much so that I half jestingly, because it's only half jesting, I've been an electrician since I was 5. We built a house in Colorado, and he taught me how to wire the house at 5 years old. So I was doing electrical, I was doing plumbing, I was doing framing, I was doing all of it at 5, 6 years old building this house out in Colorado. I ended up as the house electrician at Weber State University, working backstage, and that's how I paid for my degree, was working as an electrician.
You hear that? Guys, like Brent, listen, this is the good stuff. This is the stuff that we don't know of. We need to extract that from experts. Pull that and let's teach our kids about that. So, but now if you're gonna teach them 5-year-old kids, make sure that you know what the positive and
well, he's got his master's in electrical engineering. Okay. We were okay with that.
We were,
and it was very basic. He drilled a hole through all the studs and said, okay, see those holes, see this wire, go string it through. And that's what I did at 5 years old. I strung wire.
Excellent.
I was a very young apprentice journeyman electrician.
There you go.
So definitely the apprentice level.
Thank you, Brent. Well, like I said, I have a couple questions that I want to ask. And the first one that I want to ask, what excites you? I mean, by the way, it is 7 o'clock in the morning. I am interviewing Brent. We set up very early by 6 a.m. So that means that he had to get up at 5:30, so do I, to come to the office, the studio, and do this. So
after going to bed at midnight.
So he was working until midnight. Okay, so you guys know. With that, what excites you? What gets you up at 5:30 in the morning in order to be here? What? When you have, I don't know. Let's talk about
what's your
that.
passion?
What's your passion?
What
Exactly.
is your passion? What are you so passionate about that you can be up and be excited
Exactly.
to get out of bed and get to work? What
Yes.
excites you? I'm a geek. I love computers. And I love the sales side of it. So one of my friends, it's business partner, he and I have been friends for years. One of the things that he tells me about my personality, and I kind of have to step back and say, yeah, okay. He says, I have the gift for gab. I am a storyteller. I can sit here and I can tell stories all day long.
I love that. That's great.
I caught a fish. I'm a storyteller. I can get out there and I can tell stories, and the experiences that I have with my life at sea, with working backstage and working rock and roll, my own companies, I'm a storyteller.
I see.
And I love to tell my stories. I love to get up, and I love things like this because I can get out there and I can tell people, you know what, I did this once, and I did this once, and oh man, okay, we shouldn't have done that, but we did it, and we got away with it. But I love telling stories, which in a business setting, you have to have that relationship, especially these days. Everything is so commoditized and just very cold. Everybody wants to buy online. And even the research that I read, people, even the stuff that I sell, they just want to buy it online. They want to do that very depersonalized shopping experience. And for what I do, that's very difficult. Is it impossible? No. Can you get what you need? Yeah. But you need to have the background, and sometimes what you really get is most of what you need. You don't get exactly what you need, and then you start stitching it together. What I do is I come in and consult with them and say, okay, here are the best practices, because I've been doing this for so many years. These are the best practices. These are the things that you really need. And yes, you can build your own ecosystem in technology, and you have to these days. You need more than one piece. These days, honestly, you need dozens, if not hundreds, pieces,
Correct.
depending on the size of your company. And so you need to figure out what this piece is going to do for you and how it connects to the next piece, and how that piece connects to the next piece, and how they all work together. Very much just like a family, very much like any kind of a corporate personnel experience, you have to have the right people in the right positions. So does your technology. And that's a lot of what I do, is to say, okay, here's here's the gap we need to fill. This is the kind of technology that you need to fill this gap. I'm very focused now on what it is that I do, and I focus on a couple of very small pieces of those ecosystems. I can see the bigger picture, but I'm very focused on what I do now, which has made it a lot easier for me.
Thank you so much. So again, everybody can hear Brent's, what gets him up in the morning and goes to bed very late? Passion. Passion and passion. So it's not location, where when you find a house or whatever. This is passion, passion, and passion. So write that down and actually apply into your life, as Brent has done. Okay, second question is,
Okay.
what do you attribute your success?
Oh, geez. There are a lot of pieces to it.
Okay.
But I'd say the number one is the Lord. I mean, I know we're in Utah.
Okay.
We got the predominant faith here, which I am a part of. Honestly, that is it.
Okay.
Without the Lord in my life, I am nothing. And so that's number one. Number two would be my family. My wife, my kids, my parents, my sisters, their husbands, my nieces, nephews. The support I have from my family is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
And that is everything. It really is. That support I get from home is another thing that I'm passionate about. It enables me to have a bad day, because we all have them.
Of course.
You have a day where it just doesn't go the way you want it to go. You try and try and try and it just doesn't go. And you get discouraged. You have those days where the tears are just right there. They're just ready to start flowing. But the support of my family, especially my wife, the support I get from my parents, and you get on your knees and you say your prayers, and it's the support you get from the Lord, that's what keeps me going, especially on a bad day.
Thank you. So just to resume or recap what he said. So again, the success parts, and I think you guys know, and we need to continue doing that, is putting God number one, and then family. Friends is important, but a lot of times friends move, friends leave, friends not as much. But the support of your spouse, God, your family, I think, like you say, even your parents, that is the most important thing. So I think that would be the highest priority, if you would say.
You know, a few years ago when I started my business, this could have been almost 2 years ago, that was actually counsel I had from the bishop. He says, don't get so involved in your company that you alienate your family. Don't spend so much time in the office, so much time on the phone, so much time hunting, so much time studying, doing all this other stuff, that you forget about them. You need to, and you know, I barely knew this bishop because we just barely moved into the ward. And so I can't even remember his name now, because we were only in that ward for a few weeks and they split the ward and we were in the new ward. But he had that counsel to say, keep your wife involved in all that you do. For a number of reasons that I've learned in the time since, that I need to keep that relationship up with her. I can't alienate her because I'm staying out till midnight working and getting up at 5:15 and getting out the door to go to work, and they're both bleary-eyed, and actually she was actually up today. I struggled to get out of bed today. It was such a late night. I had a very physical job last night. But have that support and make sure that they're involved. So I have to consciously make sure that she knows what I do. It used to be the running joke. What does your husband do? Blah, 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 computer geek, blah, blah, blah. No idea. Absolutely no idea what I did. Now I'm trying to include her in some of the stuff that I do, and so I have my mobile phone and I have my email on it, of course, so that I can be out and about and work. My email is also on her phone.
Yeah.
Not so much that she wants to read my email, but she has my calendar, so she knows where I'm at when I'm supposed to be someplace else. And sometimes she reminds me, you need to get out the door. Quit telling stories and go, because that's me. But she has access to my emails and that as well, and I told her, this is just, swipe it right, because we've set it up that way, swipe it right so I know it's unread that I need to go look at it. When I sit down and look at my email. I don't care that she reads my email. She knows who I'm working with. I've got nothing to hide from her. But she's starting to learn, and she is not a computer geek. She used to run an Ace Hardware. Her dad was an entrepreneur as well.
Okay.
And he had a hardware store. And she just grew up in a hardware store to the point where later on in life she ran retail hardware. She ran an Ace Hardware for almost 20 years.
Oh, awesome.
And then we got married and had kids, and then she doesn't work anymore. But she tells me the names of the tools, and I'm just like, no, I want that thing. I know what I want. I just don't know the correct term for it. I know how to use it. Just give me that.
Oh, that's
So having that support is phenomenal. It really is.
So, do you guys hear that? I think that's very important, and that shows what the character of this man is, Brent. It shows that he's always with the family, always with his spouse, and there's no secrets, there's no nothing. It is a team. Even though his spouse, as he was saying, is not working directly with him, but he knows everything about the business. A lot of times, and we know, and we have seen time and time again, where presidents of companies or business owners, whatever you want to call it, they go and do their own stuff, and their spouse doesn't know anything about them. This is, I believe, what Brent showed us the best example yet to how to be integrated with the family, with their kids, with, again, all these things. So thank you so much for that. Let me ask you my third question. How do you handle adversity and doubt?
How do I handle everyday life? That is a very good question. For me, it is relying on the Lord, relying on my wife, relying on my family. It's been a tough couple of years. It's been quite the story how I came to be where I am right now, but I love where I'm at. I know I am doing what I'm supposed to do. And that helps. That helps a lot when you start feeling down, to know that you are doing the right thing. Because we've talked about, okay, at what point do I give up and just go get a job? Do I go be a sales engineer for somebody else? And they were hunting me. I had companies hunting me. So for years before I started my own company, I was working for somebody else. And they said, "When are you gonna come work for me? When are you gonna come work for us? We need a sales engineer. So my previous job was a sales engineer. I need somebody that understands all of these pieces that can go articulate that to our clients in English." Because we speak geek. I speak geek a lot. We have so many acronyms and weird names, and people look at you, what are you talking about? What? So, as a sales engineer, I'm a translator. I speak computer and I speak English.
I agree with you.
My wife does not speak computer. I have to translate to her, okay, this is what this means when we do this. But when times get rough, my wife and the Lord and my family, and then knowing that I am doing what I'm supposed to do, and then, okay, take your 5 minutes and get back to work. Doing what I love doing makes that easier, certainly. If I had a job that I didn't like and I was doing something I didn't like, it would be very difficult to get out of bed in the morning.
Makes sense.
But having that passion for technology, and when the times get tough, and I guarantee you they get tough, but having that passion, and that helps get through those tough times.
Thank you. So you guys heard that? We all have bad days. We all have hard times, but we need to do what Brent said. Okay?
And that's part of the reward for it. Is if it were easy, everybody would do it. And if it were easy, you wouldn't learn anything. And if it were easy, you wouldn't appreciate what you accomplished.
That's correct.
So cherish the rough times. Cherish the challenges. Cherish the bad days. Because then you have that opposition when you get through it and say, you know what? I made it. I built this, I finished this, I completed this, and you have that feeling of self-worth that I was able to overcome, I was able to conquer, I was able to succeed. With help, absolutely, because none of us are islands. We're not individuals in the world. We have the support of family and church and the Lord. And if you can recognize that and incorporate that into saying, yes, I was very low here, I needed help here, and I had help from this person, this person, this person, and I had help from the Lord, and we got through it. We have bad days, and you talk about adversity. I actually have one more child, and we talk about her all the time, even though the 4 little kids at home never met her. She was born before they were. Tegan was born 101 days early on vacation. She spent her whole life in the hospital, but we got to know her for just over a year, almost 13 months, and her little redheaded, rule-breaking personality. But we can go back through that and say, we survived that. It was, at the time, it was just our life. I'd get up, we'd send Victoria to school, Sonia would go to the hospital, she'd spend the day with Tegan, I'd go to work, I'd get off work, I'd go down to the hospital, sometimes Sonia would go back with me, sometimes Victoria would come, and that was just our routine. And 13 months of that, and then Tegan got sick one more time, and the last time she got sick, she just couldn't do it.
I'm sorry.
And we lost her.
I'm so sorry.
And yeah, you have that adversity. But again, we know she's ours. We know we will see her again. And that helps. We have had that adversity. We have that knowledge. We have that faith that it'll be okay. We just take that and apply it to everything else that we do. You know, when I first lost my job and restarted my company a couple of years ago, one of the things I would tell people is say, look, I have buried my firstborn child. I have lost my child. I've buried her. I've given her back to the Lord. Anything else is easy. I've done the hard part. The rest of this is easy. Let's go get to work.
Do you guys hear that? That is what we need to be doing. A lot of times we get caught up in the little things when we have already overcome huge trials. Thank you, Brent, for sharing that. I think that is something that we need to be more like Brent. So please, don't just listen to this as, okay, the video's done, I already learned, done. No, really apply. This is the time that you have to hear from an expert in so many ways that could be applicable to our lives so we can be successful, happy, everything that you want. Okay, one more last question.
As I say,
I
one more thing
apologize.
to that is it's all about perspective.
Okay.
So as I just said, I've done probably the hardest thing I'm ever going to do, burying my child. Everything else is easy. That's perspective. So one of the things I love to tell people, this is because of my time in England.
Okay.
So in the United States, we celebrate Independence Day on the 4th of July. What do we call it in England, or what do they call it in England?
I don't know, the separation?
Insurrection.
Oh.
Insurrection of the colonies.
What does that mean?
Insurrection,
Yes.
fighting,
Okay.
chaos, getting up and not doing what you're told. And England wanted the colonies to
Okay.
be subject to the king, and they got up and said no.
Okay.
Wrote their Declaration of Independence and said, no, we're going to do it our way. We want these things. We have these certain inalienable rights, and that's what this country was founded upon. And so we celebrate in the United States independence from England. England, insurrection of the colonies. That perspective matters. And so when you're talking to people, you're talking to other businesses, you're talking to the people that you want to do sales with or whatever it is that you want to do, you want to communicate with them. Understanding the difference in perspective matters. Perspective really does matter. If you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and understand what they need and what they want from their perspective, it makes it so much better.
Thank you.
It makes it a lot easier too, because then you have that understanding, and that's why you have these conversations.
You hear that?
You get to know them and say, okay, oh, you used to live in England. Okay.
Okay. Take that. Thank you. Last question. So I know that we're almost on time or running out of time. If you have one piece of advice to someone just starting out on their business, what would that be?
One? That's hard.
Oh, please give us. No. If we
I
can
have
get-
a list.
Please
I
give us
you
two,
a laundry
three.
list, a big laundry list. I would say a lot of what we've talked about. Be passionate. If you're not passionate about what it is that you're going to do, it's going to be very difficult to get out of bed at 5 in the morning and get going and stay up till midnight and keep going. Be passionate. Love what it is that you do. Don't do it alone. There's no reason to do it alone. Involve your spouse, involve your friends, involve your family. Find a business partner that you trust. There's no reason to do a lot of this stuff alone, and honestly, you can't. There's too much to it. I have relied heavily on the Business Resource Center at UVU and people like Jim Beckstrom and Greg Whelan and some of those people down there at the BRC. That's their purpose from the state and the Business Resource Center. They are there to help me. And they have helped me a lot because I've never taken a marketing class in my life. That whole world is foreign to me. I'm a geek. The technology and the computers, oh yeah, bring that on. How to go sell it to somebody else? I was a sales engineer. I got to play bad cop. I got to be very blunt. And now you don't want to do it that way. Here's why. I could be very blunt and very technical about it. The sales side and the being nice side, I'm having to learn that part. And I've learned a lot of things from those two gentlemen specifically at the Business Resource Center. But there are resources for you, and there's a lot of resources for you. So don't do it alone. Be your expert at what you're expert on, and then bring in experts for the places that you need help with. Don't try to do it by yourself. I'm not a lawyer. I have no intentions of ever being a lawyer. So when I have contracts, okay, can you help me with this? Make sure that I'm not signing my form away. So rely on people that you trust.
Brent, it was a pleasure meeting you. If we want to hear more about you or your company, what can you spell out? What is the company's name?
My company is PrimeTech Business Technology Solutions. I had to misspell it.
Okay.
So PrimeTech is PRIMETEK. I could have gotten the domain for TECH, but it was $85,000. And I said, for $85,000, I will misspell the word.
I love that. Hey, we need to be creative. But instead of this, you can put the 85 into the business.
Yeah, the $85,000, I could spend that money someplace else for a lot of different stuff. So there are things like that and you see a lot of creative spelling these days, and
Yes.
that there are reasons for that I can get into why. But even myself, I spell tech with a K, T-E-K.
Okay.
And that's because it cost me $12 instead of $85,000.
Big difference.
But yeah, and so what my company is I am a technical sales and sales support company. So I represent, as an independent salesperson, a very few select service providers that have a unique and disruptive service available in the world of technology. And so that's my focus. And even I have access to quite a number of service providers, but my focus is really about 2 or 3 of those service providers, and I have reasons for supporting those particular ones. And number one is they're disruptive. So if you look at the world of technology, everything starts at the top of the pyramid as custom. It's IBM in the 70s, research and development. It's custom built. Once it's been built a couple of times as a custom project for somebody who needs to solve a specific problem, they come back and say, hey, somebody else has to need this same thing. And it rolls down to the next level, which is disruptive, which is when it becomes more available to everybody, but very few know what it is or what it can do or why they need it. It's still very disruptive. And then the bottom of the pyramid is commodity. Voice is commodity. Everybody knows you need a cell phone. It's a commodity. You can go to the mall down here in Orem, and there's 2 T-Mobile stores in one mall. What does that say? That's commodity. So I focus in that disruptive section where it's not custom, but it's just coming off of custom, where we have something that's still very new that a lot of companies just don't know that it's available to them. They're still doing something a little different, the old way. We were talking about this yesterday, that the monitoring and metrics, they're still doing things very much the way we used to in the 90s. Like, come on guys, we're a couple of months from 2020 here. There's better ways to do this. Let me show you how to do this a lot easier, a lot less expensive, a lot more powerful. Go put that 286 back in the closet. Let's get you on an i7. That's what I do. I focus on that disruptive stuff, and I have the support of many very good companies, but I focus in on a few of them. But that's what I do as technical sales. I come and tell stories.
Like today.
This is what you need. Why are you doing that? Let's do this way. This way will do it a lot better, a lot faster, a lot cheaper.
Okay.
Because that's what businesses want. Business owners want it to be profitable, because we have to take care of our families. At the end of the day, if we can't make our mortgage payment or our rent payment, we go get a job. So we've got to be profitable. It's got to make me money, or it's got to save me money.
Yeah.
Right now, the economy's kind of quirky because business is good, and so a lot of these companies don't want to slow down because they want to keep that stream coming in. You start watching the news and you get another.
Yes.
So, can I save money? We will eventually come to that wheel again where saving money will be paramount and important to companies. In 2007, 8, 9, 10, the crash, we did a lot of business because we could do it better and cheaper.
Got it.
And then the third thing that business owners want is, will this make my life easier? Can I do this process better, faster, easier? Those are the three things that they're primarily after. When you understand that from my perspective as technical sales, that makes it that much easier. And then you start getting into the personalities, where this person is a CEO, this is what he's after. We get into that too, the information, how to present it. Okay. But really that's what it comes down to. Will it make my company money so that I can feed my family? Will it save me money so that I can be profitable? Or will it make my business function better? And I bring in technology into those companies primarily for number 3. Will this technology make it easier for my business to do what it does? And that's what I do.
Excellent. Thank you, Brent. It was a pleasure meeting you guys, meeting him. You guys, the point is, let's learn from the expert. And Brent Allgood is an expert. He has given us so much insight that we need to not just listen to it, actually apply it to our lives so we can be happier, successful, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. This is Dan Sifuentes again, and have a great day.